you were talking to Nardi, you said he's hopefully going out to Jacksonville today just to see him getting where he is, getting to the rehab assignment, hopefully getting close to getting him back.
Yeah, I mean, showing how much we've missed him. You don't realize how much you miss somebody till they're gone, right? And that is definitely the case with Nardi. And we put him in low leverage, and then middle of the year we were high leverage, traffic, really big situations that he came out of on top and helped us play a lot of games. So yeah, we've missed him a bunch, and glad that he came out of both ends healthy, and hopefully we see him soon.
And we're about a week into Avi being in rehab. Just what have been the reports of him down there? I know it's just the start of the process, but what have been the reports of?
Yeah, he's missed a lot of time, so it's going to take him some time to get his timing back. But I watched his at-bats today, all of his at-bats today, and his timing, it's just all about the timing, but he's coming back healthy and feeling healthy after the games, and good swing on a slider home run, which was nice to see. Some just missed balls that, probably once his timing is back, he'll be barreling up. So as long as he's coming out healthy, that's what we want to hear, and then he can progress to getting up here.
So you mentioned not changing the routine, obviously kind of keeping things when you're winning, losing, but any superstitious type things you've done over the last couple of days to try to end this, anything ridiculous you try to do?
Yeah, there's definitely stuff that we'll keep internal that we've tried. I think it'd be crazy to say that we're not trying anything different, but a lot of that stuff is kept in-house and tight circle type stuff, and so but I do feel like the guys are in a good spot. I know it's tough when you're get on a losing streak. This is not easy. It's one thing if they weren't intense or they didn't care or there wasn't any sense of urgency. That's not the case. So we just haven't won some games and lost some leads and that type of stuff, and where we've been used to winning those games in the first half. So I think it'd be one thing if I'd be holding team meetings and all that stuff. I didn't think that they were going about it the right way. These guys are going about it the right way, and so this will pass. I think you figure out who you are when you fail. It's easy when you succeed, right? I mean, nobody questions anything, but when you fail, you kind of figure out who you are, and some holes that we got to figure out to clean up, and we'll be all right. You
mentioned beginning of the year, spring training beginning of the year, you had a notebook that you write things out from the night before. Looking at too.
It's getting bigger.
Yeah. What's been the gist of the messages you've been writing yourself throughout this past week and a half?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy for me to just point fingers at players, right? You got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to hold. Our coaches are feeling it just as much as the players. I know they probably don't feel that because the players are the ones playing the game, and but you feel it. And so I think there's just you try to figure out certain ways to empower or encourage, and I think that when you're in this seat, you have to figure out who the guy is that you're trying to lead first before you can actually lead a team. And so you're still building those personalities or building those relationships and figuring out what makes them click when they're failing. This is not easy when you're going through a situation like this. So yeah, there's a lot of things in that book that I keep going back to and writing about, and I'm not going to be one reporter by any means, but there are some stuff that you want to go back to when in tough times.
What we said last week.
Believe.
So today the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Scott Rowland being inducted to the Hall of Fame. I've heard that there's some stories with when you played against him. You used to wear his shin pads specifically when you were playing against him. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, Scott was one of my favorite teammates. The first week I got called up, he bought me 2 suits. He took me out. Him and John Mamrie would take me on the bus, the taxis, dinners, everything. He was really, really good to me. And he also taught me how to play the game the right way. So if I had a chance to take out the second baseman when the rules were the rules, if I didn't do it, you would hear about it right away. And it was just little things like that. So I knew that when I was playing second base and he went to the Reds, and Chris Carpenter bought me a shin guard to stay in more than I would get it. I would bail out a little bit. I would just use my arm. But I needed to stay in because the ball would tail away. So I needed to get on top of it. So I needed to stay in on it. And so I had to wear a soccer shin guard for Scott Rowland specifically because he would drive me into left field if I stayed in there, and which he did one time.
Yeah, over the last few weeks or so, you've had a chance to observe your organizational depth, with all the call-ups from Jacksonville here. What have you been able to find out during that period of time that will not only be good for the immediate, but down the road?
Well, we've had some in Double-A too at Uri, right?
Right,
So
right.
there's been some guys that have opened some eyes here, and we wouldn't be where we're at if it wasn't for a lot of those guys, especially Yuri Perez. So yeah, our depth has been tested. There's no doubt about it. They filled in nicely when we needed them. I think definitely on the pitching side more than anything, which has been great. But there's been a lot of free agents too that have been really good for us in free agent signings. So you're going to get your depth's going to be tested throughout the season. You're not going to have 26 guys the whole year, and I feel like the front office has done a nice job of identifying some weaknesses last year to help us out this year.
Jazz, obviously we see them out here today. Do you have an approximate date in your mind, or maybe organizationally, as to when you think you do that?
Yeah, we don't have any up to really dates for Jazz yet. He's doing some rotational stuff, which was good in the weight room and out here, and sprint stuff. It's not just the obliques that you're worried about, because he's been down, right? So we want to make sure the legs are good and the hamstrings are good and everything else. So when he does come back, it's the obliques might be fine, but his legs are underneath him too, because he's such a twitchy player and he's going to steal bases and run down stuff in center field that most can't. So making sure that everything is good to go, and then once he, hopefully he'll be on the road trip in Tampa, start progressing as far as the hitting routine and the hit progression. And then from there, we'll see where he's at.
Okay, guys. Thanks. I just mentioned one thing. I just want to wait till the very end. You talk about longer losing streaks, okay? Okay. So just tell me what it's like to be from a manager versus, a player in a.
Yeah, I think I answered this yesterday after the post-game. But I will tell you that it's a very similar feeling. You don't feel good about it. You do whatever you can to get out of it. Find different ways to try to motivate, to try superstitious stuff, whatever it is. But I don't think it's much different as a player or a manager. You try to figure out, different ways to get through this thing. And if you do the same thing over and over again, that's the definition of insanity, right? So you just try to figure stuff out.
Thank you.
Okay, you got it.